Hello and welcome to Freedom Frontline. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And here we are in the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast. And my good friend Ariana in studio. Ariana, good to see you.
Hi, I hope everybody's doing well. I've been enjoying the spring weather. It's getting warm outside, fighting off the allergies, but I'm making it. And I was also wondering, as a bulldog, what the heck do you got on?
Well, I just a quick question for both of you, because I know both of you are Bulldogs. Who do y'all playing anybody this weekend? Is there anybody y'all play?
Playing the radio.
Yeah, there we go.
So the reason I'm wearing my Gator sweater today, and it's hot actually. I mean, It is hot outside. But we are playing tonight in the Sweet 16. We play Maryland. And so I'm a huge Gator fan, as I'm sure many of you are aware. If you're not aware, you are now. But we're playing Maryland at like 6:30. And so my goal is to be at Buffalo Wild Wings watching the game with my two daughters.
See, we're waiting on baseball.
Okay, I understand. State is good in baseball. And so that's for sure. And so it is good to have Arlie Flowers with us. He's a councilman. And here in Gulfport, and has been doing a fine job for the last 16 years. And he is actually up for re-election. And his election is Tuesday, April 1st. And so, Arlie, sir, man, it's good to have you on the show with us today.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate being able to speak to people and in your audience that are interested in what's happening in Gulfport. Yes, municipal elections for just about every municipality in the state of Mississippi is April 1st. That's Tuesday. It's not a Fool's Day joke. It is really voting day. So don't be a fool. Go vote.
That's right. You know, one thing, Arlie, that I talk about all the time is your vote counts.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I mentioned. There's not a show on Freedom Frontline or whether it's on my personal Dan Carr podcast that I don't mention these three words. And that is your vote counts, because, you know, the truth is your vote does count. And unfortunately, so many people, they don't vote. And so, you know, we need everyone to go out and vote. Listen, I'm for everyone voting. I wish we had 100% participation in Mississippi and across the nation. We don't, and that's unfortunate. But I want to encourage you to get out and vote. And get out and vote on Tuesday. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. You have one more Sunday at church. Talk to your friends at church. And get them to go vote on Tuesday. Before we get into questions, I know Ariana has several questions. Before we get into questions, Arlie, a lot of people don't understand how government works whenever it comes to the local, when it comes to the city council, you know, whenever it comes to aldermen, whenever it comes to, you know, a weak form whenever it comes to the mayor being a weak form of government versus a strong mayor. You know, a lot of people don't understand. And I know even here on the coast, you know, we have different types. I kind of explain it like this. Mississippi, whenever it comes to the lieutenant governor, Mississippi has a very strong lieutenant governor. You know, he appoints all of the committee chairmen. There's like 37 different committees. He appoints all of the committee chairmen. It's a very strong form of government. In Louisiana, it's not. Louisiana, the lieutenant governor, he's more of a tourist guy. He's more of trying to get tourism to come. That's more what he is in Louisiana. Louisiana has a very strong governor. Mississippi's governor is strong, but not as strong as what it would be in Louisiana. So kind of explain a little bit about the role of a councilman, what a councilman does on a day-to-day basis, and kind of give us a little bit of, because I know I would love to hear that. I know a lot of people love to hear that as well.
Now, that's a great question, and I will say this, a lot of people that move to Gulfport from other areas are unfamiliar with our form of government because they've been exposed to different forms of government than what we have. But the city of Gulfport actually has a strong mayor council form of government. And basically that means our form of government is very similar to the federal government in the fact that every employee in the city at the end of the day answers to the mayor, except for the council clerks. We have two, all right, that answer to the 7 council members. We are the legislative body, of course, very similar to the federal form of government. We're like Congress. We set the rules and we hold the purse. But the mayor in Gulfport is the boss at the end of the day, and everybody works for him. So a lot of people are more familiar with boards of aldermen, where maybe the mayor sits on the board and just runs the meeting and gets the same power in a vote. and they may have a city manager that actually does the work. That is not our form of government here in Gulfport. And there are clear delineations between separations of power that are mandated by the state statutes that give our form of government its credibility and sets us up. That says the mayor is the chief executive, the council are the legislators, and the council is strictly prohibited by state statute from interfering with the daily operations of the city. Now, as a body, we can, of course, impose rules and restrict funds or empower the mayor to do things with funds, but we cannot direct an employee of the city to do anything.
So if someone calls you, about, a ditch need to be cleaned or about sidewalks, I'm sure you get those calls every single day. All the time. You cannot, so if I understood you right, you cannot call and be like, the gentleman that's over the, he's over the streets and drainage, or he's over the ditches, making sure the ditches are clean. Can you call that guy or can you not call that guy? How does that work?
So it depends on the mayor, actually. The mayor has been, in my time of office, I've worked with 2 mayors. Generally speaking, and as long as the council's not abusing powers, the mayor appreciates what we're doing and acting as eyes and ears for the community to let his administration know what could and should be done. But and so I can call. I've been doing the job long enough. I know who it is and I know their number, and so I can call them and kind of I can make them aware of it. But I cannot direct them to do that job. I can ask, and boy, I ask all the time. But to be truthful, my request is no more than what any citizen could do in the city of Gulfport by calling the 311 line, the request line for the city to take action.
Nice. Well, Ariana, let's jump into some questions. I know that I want to get into some of these questions today.
Yeah, so Arlie, I want to get to know you better. So why don't you start off by just telling us about your background, where you grew up, and just all of that.
So I'm a local boy. I grew up in Orange Grove. I went to Harrison Central. I'm a Red Rebel till the day I die, okay? With that being said, then after I graduated high school, I went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. I was a Bulldog there, right? and then I went to South Alabama for my undergraduate work. So go Jags. I think we had some NIT participations. I'm not certain we have any NCAA, Division I basketball participation yet, but one day we'll get there. With that being said, I graduated mechanical engineering there. I have graduate work at Mississippi State, so Bulldog twice there. Mm-hmm. And I became an engineer. I worked at Ingalls for 18 years. I built ships out there, some naval surface combatants. I guess my claim to fame is that I launched the LPD-21, which was the USS New York. We launched it out of New Orleans. I worked over there at that time, and it was made such that it contained steel in the keel from the World Trade Center towers that were lost on 9/11. And so that will always be a special place in my heart for that ship. It was a great accomplishment in my career. After I'd been there for a while, my wife and I, we had that conversation of, are we going to have a family or not? My wife and I, we decided that we would. And so in preparation of doing that, I knew that I wanted to be a dad I just couldn't figure out how to do in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. I had a good friend. She was a financial advisor. She was my financial advisor with Edward Jones, and she taught me into joining her, and she got me started on my business before she retired. And we had our daughter. We were married 18 years before we had my daughter. That was by design a little bit. I think very intentional on my wife's part. She refused to rear 2 children at the same time, so she had to finish one first. There's a debate as to whether she finished or gave up.
I think she gave up.
But so Addison's 7 now, and I love being a dad. I had debated running for mayor actually this time in the city, and that was my deciding point. My daughter's 7. She still thinks I'm a superhero, and I want to spend as much time with her while she does. In 4 more years, she'll be a preteen. She may not even know I exist at that time, but that's a little bit about me. I love the relationships that I have built in my community, not only as a councilman, but as a financial advisor. That's what it's about. It's about the relationships, and if I'm successful in building those, I can serve my clients, and I can serve my constituents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I wanted to get to know you more. So going back to you becoming a city councilman, I'm always curious about what inspires people to run for government. So what was your inspiration 16 years ago?
So I always felt compelled to be involved in my community. In high school, of course, go off to college, you kind of come back and you try to figure out ways that you can serve. I was very fortunate for a period of time to work on the Seaway at the Northrop Grumman facility, and had a plant director that pretty much said, y'all need to get involved with your community. And I said, man, I'm from here. Can I take you up on that offer? And he encouraged me to do so. I got involved with Rotary. I met several council members that were in that club, in the Gulfport Orange Grove Rotary Club at that time, and built a relationship with them. Went off to New Orleans and actually, I say I went off. I just drove over there every day, back and forth. It's a bit of a commute. But when I came back, I was standing in line on election day. Presidential election day is actually a presidential election that Barack Obama won his first term. And I walked up to vote, and one of those council members I'd met turned around. He was standing. I walked up right behind him to vote, and we were waiting in line. And he said, "Arlie, what are you doing?" And I said, "Chuck," I said, "man, I'm just getting off of a big job in New Orleans. I'm coming back home, and we're going to start a new project over here." And he said, "Well, you need to run for city council." And I did what anyone and everyone should do in that situation. I remembered my manners, and I said, "Chuck, that is such an honor. Thank you so much for thinking of me like that, and I'll pray about it." And then I did what no one should ever do about that. I did. I prayed about it. And so a few weeks later, I went down to City Hall, and I filled out the application, and I started running. I actually ran against an incumbent, and not that anybody knew who I was. Trust me, they didn't. I was just a kid that had grown up here, but I didn't have a great big name. My family was not in, a great Gulfport name for us. I was poor when we grew up. I was fortunate to go to college, but we living high on the hog meant we had some kind of meat in our beans and rice. I mean, that was a big deal. So I had a campaign manager. He told me, he said, "Arlie, you have to start at the grassroots. You have to go knock doors." And I was the first person to ever knock every door in Ward 6. And I was so naive and gullible, I guess. I did it 3 times. So by the 3rd time, people would see me coming. They were like, "Arlie, you're okay. We got you, man. We can tell you that you want to work." And so they gave me the opportunity. I absolutely fell in love with my community, even more so working for them. And that's why I'm now running for my 5th term. I fell in love with my constituents.
That's amazing. Yeah.
One thing, Arlie, that I like about you is, I like a lot of things about you, but one thing is your involvement in your church. And that's one thing that we talk about on Freedom Frontline, and we talk about it often, and that is Christians. We need more Christians to be involved and engaged in the political process. Unfortunately, so many Christians have vacated the political arena. And whenever you vacate the political arena, what comes in is just a bunch of nonsense. Mm-hmm. And so we need men of character, men of integrity. We might not always see eye to eye on every single issue. If we talk long enough, there'll be some issues where we don't see eye to eye on. But at the end of the day, I know that you're a Christian man, and I know that you're a man of integrity, and you have a good family, good, strong family. And I appreciate that, coming from a pastor, because I want more Christians to get involved and more Christians to be engaged. And so tell us a little bit about, your involvement in your local church, your church, because I know you're heavily engaged, with your church. And then at the same time, you're heavily involved, in your family, and you're heavily involved in, the political arena, and you have a thriving business that is growing. So how do you balance all of this out, as a father, because I believe, that the most important thing that I am is I'm a husband. Of course, I'm a Christian, but I'm a husband and I'm a father. Those are the 2 most important things. Yes, I get to pastor church, and we might have a lot of other titles, but those are the 2 most important. I'm a husband first, then I'm a father second, and then everything else just falls into place. So how do you balance it all out? Because I know you probably work 90 to 100 hours a week, I would imagine. I mean, you get hundreds of phone calls. Then on top of that, you have your business and just everything you have going on. How do you balance all that out?
I don't. I can tell you, I don't.
I
Not
like
by
the
myself.
honesty.
I have found the more I pray, the better I am. And please don't take it the wrong way. I am severely lacking in many aspects of my life. But I have realized that if I pray more, it gives me more peace to be able to do the things I need to do and clarity on defining what some of those are. Now, I taught Sunday school for 21 years, and there are young people that are not as young as they were, because I'm not as young as I was either, that have grown up and they watch me, and I've been a role model for them, which scares me to death. Okay, I don't want to do anything to ever disappoint them, to lead them astray, and those types of things. But that's good. That helps me when I am trying to balance my life such that I am doing the right thing with my salvation, with my service in my community, for my clients in my business, and of course being the family man I want to be. So I have had to evolve. I don't teach Sunday school anymore. I don't have time to do that because my role now with my church is I'm Addison's dad. So I'm making certain that she gets to go to the kids' choir practice and she goes to kids' church and she gets to do all those kids things. I want to make certain that she's involved in that. So that's become my role now. I love teaching Sunday school, but I don't have time to do that. Now that's not a deficiency. That's a change in life, a stage in life that I'm in now that I thoroughly enjoy. And you know what? That's my duty as a father. That's my duty as a Christian to make sure that my generation that follows me becomes the torchbearer eventually.
Yeah.
The banner carrier.
You know what somebody told me, a gentleman, I used to work for him, he's in heaven now. We would, I was younger, and we would meet at Waffle House every single morning, right there south of I-10. That Waffle House right there, you turn to go to Home Depot, that Waffle House. We met there every single morning, and we would have a Bible study and pray. And every single morning, and his name was John Simmons. And you might have known John Simmons, but he grew up here, had a contracting company, built a lot of things all over the place. But John told me this one day. He said, Dan, the worst thing that I ever did was I sent my children to church. He said, that's the worst thing I ever did. He said, if I could go back, and at first it kind of caught me off guard. He said, if I could go back, I would not send my children to church. He said, I would bring them. He said, the worst thing that I ever did was sent my children to church and I didn't bring them. And whenever I heard that, I was like, man, that's right. You know, so many families, so many people, they just send their children to church. They send them and they expect the schools to raise them. They expect the church, to raise them. But no, parents have to be engaged. Parents have to be involved. You need to know what's happening. You need to know what's being taught in the schools. You need to know what's being taught in the church, in their classroom. And so you have to be involved, as a parent. And I like to hear, someone as yourself where you have so many different hats, but I'm Addison's dad. That's the most important, whenever it comes to my daughter and my children. Because as they get older, I have 3 that are in their teen years, 17-year-old, 15-year-old, and then a 13-year-old, and then I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. And I'll say, that, boy, life changes so fast and so quick. And you wish that, you want to keep them young forever. You want to keep them at 8. You want to keep them at 13. You want to keep them at 12 and keep them at 17 and keep them at 15. But that's not how life is. You get one chance. You get one chance. And I've got a son that'll be a senior next year, and it'll be done. He'll be going off to college and get married and all those type of things. And I've got a son that's in 9th grade, and just you have one shot at this thing, and this life will soon pass. And what's done for Christ is what will last. And I believe that raising our children right is probably the most spiritual, godly Christian thing that you can do as a parent, whenever it comes to those children. And so I like to hear you say that, about you being Addison's dad at church, and that's very important.
Well, that's my goal, is to make certain that she's better than me in so many aspects of life. Education, financial status, career-wise, but definitely spiritually.
Yeah.
What better legacy can I leave to her than a spiritual legacy? And so that's my goal. Things change in life, and she's definitely a great benefit to me to have. And as you mentioned, we only get one chance. And literally, I only get one chance because this is the only child that we're going to have. To have another child would take another wife, and one of those is all I can take or handle, or it's something along those lines.
So hopefully your wife watches this
Yeah,
episode.
right?
Oh, she'll agree that I'm the one.
So is there anything else you need to say to help clear that up? You know,
You love your wife.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. But no,
does your wife get on your nerves?
I don't know that that's possible because I'm always on hers.
Yeah, there you go.
You and I sound a lot alike.
I jokingly tell people this all the time, but there are a lot of women in my life that I answer to. It seems like I have a daughter now. That's another one. I have a mom. I have a wife. I have an office administrator in my office. And I have a list of my favorites on my phone, and I pull it out from time to time to show people. I have one man on there. It's my father-in-law, because my father, to be truthful, most of the time he doesn't even know where his phone is, okay? So I have to call my mom. But all the other ones are the women that I answer to in my life.
Man, look, so I'm with you. My wife runs me, my three daughters. Great day in the morning. They're like, Dad, you're doing this, and it's fun being a dad.
It is.
It is.
It
It's
is.
great.
Yeah.
It's fun being married too.
Absolutely.
You
I gotta
men
throw
couldn't
that.
survive without us.
No way.
No way.
No way.
Total
And
agreement.
any man that tells you different is a liar.
Yeah.
Or just stupid. And I hate to
We're
use that
preaching
word.
over here.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep that. Let's get back to talking about Gulfport before one of us get in trouble. I was born in Gulfport 43 years ago. I was born in Memorial Hospital, the old part. Whenever you drive up, if you're on the south side of the Memorial Park and you're walking up, and you got the left side, you have where the you park parking garage, and then the front part you have Gulfport on the old part, the right side. That's the old part of Gulfport, and so that's where I was born. The hospital. That's where I was born, 43 years ago, and from the time then till now, Gulfport has grown a lot. Gulfport's grown a lot, and of course we had Katrina. Which this year will be 20 years. Hard to believe it's been 20 years ago.
I know.
That Katrina came. And so time is just marching on.
So Gulfport has definitely changed in your lifetime, my lifetime, dramatically.
Yes.
Definitely because of Katrina, but there were other reasons too. I mean, the number of people that come through Gulfport because they're in the military or the CB base here, of course, and the Air Force Base in Biloxi is astounding. And as some of those people have retired, they've remembered how nice the people were.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our number one draw. It's not the food, it's not the beach, which all of those things are great. It's actually our people.
I agree.
And it's a beautiful area.
It's a beautiful area.
I mean,
All
the
of it.
Mississippi Gulf Coast, a beach area, that's
Absolutely.
gorgeous. I love it.
They realize that their money goes farther here. There is a VA that's nearby, and they've moved back too. So those are really good incentives to attract people here. Katrina definitely changed the landscape, not only of the coast just due to the impact of it, of the actual storm itself, but the impacts to insurance, the cost of rebuilding, and all that. So,
the casinos moved on land.
yeah,
those sort of things happen.
So 30 years ago, the city of Gulfport made its last and largest annexation when it annexed Orange Grove. Basically, it annexed North Gulfport and Orange Grove.
I remember. I remember all that.
1994, it went into place, and that was the last annexation that the city of Gulfport had done. Now, that was a great annexation for the city of Gulfport due to, and it was highlighted when Katrina hit. If the city of Gulfport had not had Orange Grove as is part of its tax base, the old part of Gulfport would not be there today.
It was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
They would have not had any way to really rebuild. So Orange Grove really pulled the entire city through that recovery process. With that being said, it also forced a lot of people that lived closer to the beach to move, whether they had lost their house or they couldn't really afford to rebuild, or they just couldn't afford the insurance. There were a lot of things that pushed them north. So today, 40% of the population of Gulfport now lives north of the interstate in what we call Orange Grove. But actually, over 50% of the population of Gulfport now lives in the annexed area of 1994.
Wow.
Wow. And so that's staggering. It shows the way we're growing. Of course, we're not Abu Dhabi. We can't afford to build islands south to build
Right.
houses
No.
on. And I don't know that we would want to necessarily do that. But we're moving north. So that expansion, people are looking for affordable housing, and that's not necessarily inexpensive housing. It's affordable as their price in for their income. So they're going north. The farther north you get, generally speaking, the less the insurance impact is. So you can afford to build or buy more home. So Orange Grove is definitely growing. We're the fastest part of the city that's growing, and unfortunately, we are still a lot of county-style infrastructure. Now, we've done a good job, not a great job, not a perfect job, and I found that out this week on some new area that I recently inherited due to redistricting. We don't have all the sewer done, but I did, in my area, I'm pretty much done with all of it. There are some areas that other council people had, they didn't get it done. It's in my area now, I'm gonna get it done, all right? Because it has to be done. But there's drainage issues, there's sewer issues, there's some water issues. Those are not nearly as bad as the transportation issues. The city of Gulfport has not gone out and made those county roads into city roads. And when I say county roads, a 2-lane road with a 4-foot ditch on each side, that's kind of the standard in the county.
I
But
knew
in a
exactly
city,
what you meant
that's
just on my
scary.
drive here.
Yeah. So, when you put a 400 house subdivision on a county style road that was designed, well, literally it was paved over a cow trail at one time, and now we just kept on putting more demands on that road. It makes strong concerns on the infrastructure. You get people that are retiring again, as I mentioned, they're from a city, they're maybe from up north, Chicago, New York. We get them, I'm telling you, they come down here because their pensions go a whole lot farther down here.
Yeah.
They do.
And they're used to driving on a city road, and you're driving on a road at night that's really dark. If the striping's not that bright, it's a problem. The ditch is right on the edge.
Yep.
They're not too far from hitting the ditch. And that concerns people, especially retirees. And that's who's moving down here from those places up north where they're used to those styles of roads. So we have some demands that these are wonderful problems to have. Most cities, townships, villages, whatever they are in the state of Mississippi would love to have the problems that we have.
They would.
Right.
Because we're growing. There are others that are not. And so we have to seize upon these opportunities, work well, prioritize the things that we have to take care of our citizens such that they will attract the other things. A lot of times, what I found in Gulfport is that we can do anything, and we have proven it, anything that we want to do as long as we make it the priority. There was a strong desire to make some family-style attractions right after Katrina. Today, we can debate it however you want, and you may not like it, you may love it, but the aquarium is there. That was a monumental task. We pulled it off because we prioritized that. Now, if we put that same priority on the infrastructure such that we build the roads, we build the systems in place that other people can move here, private enterprise will take advantage of the rest. And that's what we're seeing in Orange Grove right now. Someone was complaining the other day about not having indoor facilities for kids in the Orange Grove that is a city facility, okay? They said, y'all can build 3 gas stations, but you can't build a gym. Well, first off, we didn't build the gas stations, all right? Now, I promise you, we're going to appreciate the taxes from those, all right? But we didn't build those, and we should prioritize some indoor facilities. However, until we get there, we have a great partnership with Harrison County School District. They have schools with gyms. They have made them available in the past, and they continue to do so. We just have to realize how to work with that. And we haven't always worked well with other entities, not necessarily on the city's fault all the time, okay? There are some times where the other entity doesn't want to play ball too. But we have opportunities right now in Gulfport that we've never had before. And if we don't seize upon them, shame on us. We got a new school superintendent in Harrison County, a young man. Mr. Bentz he's young, he's got a young family, so he gets the kids' issue. He gets the need of being involved in the community, and he wants to be. Let's seize upon that opportunity to take care of some of those issues such that we can work better and provide more for our entire community, but not require the city to do everything, because to be truthful, we can't by ourselves.
Right.
before we go any further, I want to just stop and say we have Arlie Flowers on with us, and he's a councilman, Ward 6 in Gulfport, running for re-election. He's been the city council now for 16 years, doing a good job. And so if you haven't already shared the podcast, I would encourage you to go in and do that now. And whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, whether you're watching on the Substack, Twitter, wherever you're watching, if you can share it, we would really appreciate it. It helps us get around the algorithms of some of these social media giants that doesn't necessarily like it whenever conservative, outlets such as Freedom Frontline, whenever we come on. And so you help us by sharing. And so please go ahead and do so now. But once again, here we are on Freedom Frontline with Arlie Flowers. And so we're talking about Gulfport, and we're talking about the amenities that Gulfport provides, and just having that working relationship, with the cities, with the county. Because in Harrison County, there's 5 cities, right? You have 5. You have Long Beach, Pasco, Cheyenne, Gulfport, obviously Biloxi, D'Iberville. And so then, of course, you have the county. And I would say that we have some really good, sitting on that supervisor, you have Nathan Barrett, you have Dan Cuevas, and those are 2 really good. They're just in their first term, as supervisors. And so, and they're doing a good job. And then, of course, you got Marlon on there. Then there's Kent and Rebecca. Then you have your councilman in Gulfport, of course, Biloxi, and then these others. It is important whenever you look at the county and you look at this area that they all do work together. Because, we do attract a lot of people, whether it's tourism, and it's just a lot better for the county and the cities that they're working together. You talk about Gulfport. Gulfport can't go any further south. You're right there on the beach. And, I enjoy going to the beach. My family enjoys, going to the beach. You can't really go east. You try to go east, you're going to be getting into Biloxi, and Biloxi's not going to let you annex. They're not going to let you annex that direction. And then you can't go west. Long Beach isn't going to let you annex Long Beach. You could go, I guess, you could go north. You could annex some of the areas of north, but I like the fact that you bring up there's still some work to do, in the parts that were annexed back in 1994. And some of this you're just inheriting, in your council. If you're not aware, Gulfport just had to redraw the lines, and that's just an easier way to put it. Just like all of Mississippi did just a couple years ago with the Senate and the House districts, they had to redraw the lines. And so in Gulfport, had to do that. And you have to do that according to the population. You had to have so many people per Senate district, so many people per House district. And so certain areas grow further. You had a lot of people that moved out of the Delta. A lot moved on the coast. The coast got a new House seat. Some of the Senate seats shrunk as far as not going as far north as they did. Then one of the Senate seats came further south because more people were moving south. And so Senator Mike Thompson, Senator Joel Carter, and then Scott Delano, Senator over in Biloxi area, their districts kind of had to shrink some. And then the Senate district north of us had to come further south because of population growth. And so that's the same that happened, with Gulfport. You have population growth. You have to redraw the lines. And so I'm glad that you mentioned, that you just got some new area. And so some of these people are going to vote for you for the very first time. Absolutely. And so when I saw on your Facebook page, you had some people that had been voting for you for the last several elections, and they hate to see you leave. And they hate to see that, not that they're not going to appreciate their new council person, but they've gotten used to you, because you are one who you get the job done. And so now I know that with these new areas that you have, you're going to get the job done as far as making sure that the water's done, the sewer's done, these streets are done properly. And those are the kind of council people that we need. People that listen to the people and then go get it done, because that's important whenever it comes to government.
Well, to be truthful, my entire ward kind of shifted more to the central of Orange Grove. So I lost some people, a bunch, and then I picked up some new people. So I had a lot of effort and time, 16 years in serving some of those people that I lost due to redistricting. That relationship that I built with them, it's important to me, and they'll all be part of my plans going forward when it's time for some other projects that I'm still working on and they're still wanting to go into place. I'll be able to support the council person for that area in doing that, and that's my commitment to them because I built those relationships. But I also want to let folks know that the new folks that I've gotten, and I want to let them know that, well, I have a lot of tenacity. My wife may call it hard-headedness, but once I get onto a project and I know the benefits of it, I'm not just going to turn it loose because it's for my people that I represent. And at the end of the day, I believe in servant leadership, and such that, we are there. I believe that I am a public servant. Yes, I'm an elected official, but I'm a public servant. And that means I'm there to serve people, not necessarily get abused by them, but I am there to make their lives better. And that's how, if I'm going to elevate myself, I want to elevate myself by elevating others.
Before we get into another question, I do want to mention this, that hopefully, potentially, prayerfully, the people that you did serve for 16 years, hopefully down the road, they'll get another opportunity to vote for you. And so at least that's kind of what I'm hoping for, down the road. And so
we're going to keep on praying
Yeah.
that truthfully, I want to be in God's perfect will for my life and my family.
And I know you prayed about mayor. You mentioned earlier on the show, you prayed about running for mayor. And I know the gentleman that is running for mayor, Hugh Keating, and I think that he's going to do a good job. I mean, I really do. I don't have any reason to think that he's not. I think he's a good man. He's a very good man. He's solid. He's I believe he's a man of integrity. I believe he has character. He knows Gulfport, and we've had a lot of good conversations. I know you've had some good conversations, and there is a lot of work that needs to be done in the Orange Grove area, in the annexed area. And I do believe that Mr. Hugh Keating is going to, whenever he's elected mayor, which he doesn't have an opponent April 1st, and so his election is June 3rd. And so I know that whenever he is elected mayor, that he's going to put some priority in this northern area, which would be good. Which would be good.
And I'll say this, I represent Orange Grove. I've lived up there for most of my life. Orange Grove is special to me. There's no doubt about it. But there are some parts of Gulfport, all over Gulfport, that need some attention. I'm not saying this derogatory against downtown. We've put a lot of effort into restoring downtown, but there is a return of investment that you can get downtown that it just maxes out at a certain point. Whereas if you put that same dollar in other parts of the city, it's much higher on that rate of return. And so we have to start looking at those things. And there are parts of the city that just need some attention, and they haven't had it in a long time. They're important too. There are so many historical communities in Gulfport that feel like they've been neglected. The challenge for the new administration when it comes in is to prioritize everybody in the way that they know that they're all important, but still be able to tackle problems. If we take a scattergun approach on everything, we'll never get it done. But if we allow people to realize that we're considering all and addressing one item at a time and knocking them out, they'll believe in us. And that's a big challenge for the next administration. And I wanted to point this out. The city of Gulfport has not raised taxes in over 30 years. We're very conservative in that approach. So we have to be most efficient in what we do. We have to work well with others because those other agencies that I mentioned, they get funding that we want to attract to Gulfport. Today we had a site dedication for a new fire station. We had Fire Station 2 in Gulfport burned down a while back. We demolished it. We're going to start the building of that soon. And we're teaming up with South Mississippi Planning and Development District, SMPDD.
Nice.
Wow. They have money. They have ways to help us. If we don't do that, shame on us.
Yeah.
And then we would be like, well, we don't have enough money. We're going to have to go tax people. No. You don't have to. You have to realize that these other agencies are there to help. And Leonard Bentz there has done a great job.
Absolutely.
We have done a lot of business that they actually came to us and said, we can help you with, because we just didn't know necessarily. And that relationship has grown. We have replaced multiple fire trucks, fire engines. They call them certain different things depending on what it is. We've now done at least 2 fire stations with their help. That's huge. And not only have we used funding that they have, but they've saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars in finance charges.
Well, see, that's what happens whenever you have people in office that have the city or the county, they have their best interests at heart than their own. They're not in it for themselves, but they're in it, okay, what can we do to make things better for the citizens? What can we do to make things happen so we're not raising taxes? Because I don't want to raise taxes. I mean, if we're going to do anything with taxes, let's lower them. Let's get rid of them, and tax at the bare minimum. And so that's my idea of taxes. I believe I pay plenty enough in taxes, and so every time I turn around, I'm paying taxes. And so I don't want to raise taxes at all. And so, but that's important for all groups to work together. And sometimes, we get prideful, our own pride gets in the way. And so it's better whenever we lay aside the pride and we work together. It's just better for the people. And we all have to learn that. And sometimes, even me personally, in my own life, I have to learn that sometimes you got to humble yourself.
Sure.
And I've been teaching a lot in church out of Philippians 2. We just finished Philippians 2. Where it talked about how Jesus humbled himself. And he made himself lower than even, the angels. And he humbled himself for the cross, to go to the cross and to shed his blood for you and I. And I'm so thankful that he did. And I asked a question the other night at church. If Jesus, who was God, who was creator of the universe, if he was willing to humble himself and become a servant, the Bible talks about in Galatians how we have liberty, and that liberty is so we can serve one another. And if Jesus could humble himself to serve, then who are we to think? I mean, I respect the position of councilman, but all because you're a councilman doesn't mean that you shouldn't be serving the people. I appreciate the position of mayor, but what that means is, the way that I look at it, that the council person are to be one of the biggest servants in the city of Gulfport. The mayor are to be one of the top servants of Gulfport. He are to be the biggest. A servant. I'm a pastor, but let's lay aside the title, a servant. Not supposed to be a servant, and so I think that's so important. And you have people like Leonard Bench, you have people like yourself, and I think that Mr. Hugh Keating and all these people, we're going to have a new mayor in Long Beach and a new mayor because George Bass is retiring. And so there's going to be a lot of new people elected along the coast, potentially, a lot of new people. And one thing I'll say to all of you is don't forget the most important thing that you are, outside of mayor, outside of councilwoman, outside of councilman, outside of alderman, is you're a servant. Outside of supervisor, sheriff, whatever your title might be as an elected official, the greatest title that we all can carry is we are a servant. And if we have that mindset, our cities will be better, our counties will be better, our churches will be better, our families would be better if we learn that one simple truth, and that we are a servant. Absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better. That's the way I've tried to approach my service in my 16 years, is that I have the honor of serving my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go hide in Jackson or D.C. I'm here every day. My wife really doesn't care to go to Walmart with me anymore, because it takes me about 30 minutes longer than it should. But it's okay. I enjoy that. I'm there. I'm boots on the ground all the time. People stop me. I'm there to serve them. And I've always tried to be available, be very active in my community, whether it's through my Rotary Club or doing food drives with others, and reaching across the aisle. And I'll say this, I know this is a conservative podcast, but there are a lot of people in South Mississippi that are on the other political spectrum that are very conservative, and they care a lot. And I get the opportunity to work with some of them. You mentioned 2 supervisors a moment ago that are new to the board here in Harrison County, who are both good friends of mine, Dan and Nathan. But for the longest time, the best supervisor for the city of Gulfport was Kent Jones. Kent Jones, who was the sole Democrat on the council, worked with us most.
He's still the sole Democrat.
And he's still the sole Democrat on that board. But yet he has that same philosophy of serving.
I had lunch with him a few months back, and he's doing some good things.
He's doing some good things, and he takes that approach of, I'm here to serve.
But I'm gonna tell you this, since you brought up, I guess you can say the other side, the Democrat Party. There is one, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but there is one that I would say that I wish that everybody was as involved in their community as he is.
His name would be Jeffrey Hull.
And that's Jeffrey Hull. That dude is involved in his community. Yes. I'm going to tell you one thing. House Rep Jeffrey Hullum.
District 119.
District 119. We might not see eye to eye on every issue, yep. But my wife and I don't see eye to eye on every issue. You and I don't see eye to eye on every issue. But I'm going to tell you one thing about that man, is that man loves his community. Yes. Yes. I don't know if there's anybody on the Gulf Coast that does more for their community than that man. He is working hard. He is involved. He is engaged. When he was running for office, I brought him to my dad's church, and I stood him up in my dad's church in front of 400 or 500 people. And I said, if you live in House District 119, this is a man you need to vote for. You need to vote for Jeffrey Hullum. Because that man, one, he's a retired military, 20 years in the Army, but he loves his community, and he's engaged in his community.
Every day.
And I'm probably, and if Democrats see this, it's probably going to hurt him, that I'm talking so good about him, as far as a Republican is concerned. And, but I wish everybody was involved.
Absolutely.
In their community as much as him, because he is involved and he is engaged.
Yeah, I actually got to meet him whenever I went up to Jackson earlier this year. And I have to say, out of everybody I met, he was the most encouraging person to encourage me to get involved. And he loved that I was a Coastie, a fellow Coastie like him. And he was very rememberable and just so animated and really encouraging.
He's real.
He's real.
Yes.
He's real.
I don't want to hurt Jeffrey either, but Jeffrey is my friend.
Yeah.
Several years before he got out of the military, Jeffrey had started a project to where he was sending money home out of his own pocket to make certain that kids in certain communities in Gulfport, and one of them he grew up in at Gaston Point, had a good Christmas. And he was using his connections with several of the churches that serve those communities to let them know that was going to happen. And I went, man, that sounds fantastic. So, I started following a little bit on what he was doing on social media and such like that. And he was serving in Germany or somewhere else at that time. But I started paying attention, and I'm like, man, that's fascinating. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
So I happened to be at church one day at Hansboro Missionary Baptist Church, and Jeffrey happened to be there. He had come home. He was on leave or whatever they call it, TDY, whatever. And he was saying that he was doing something because that's not his home church. But I knew who he was. I happened to be there. So after church, I walked straight up to him. I just stuck my hand out, and I said, we're going to be friends. I said, I'm already Flowers. We're going to be friends. And we struck up a friendship because of what he was doing in his community. I didn't know what his political background was, didn't care. I just knew that's the heart of a servant, and I wanted to be a friend. I wanted to surround myself with people like that because that's my style of service. And we have become good friends. I don't want to ruin his reputation at all, but I love that servant type of mentality. And that level of service to the community. That's what I aspire to do.
When Wayne Carr won Public Service Commissioner, my uncle, he became our Public Service Commissioner for the Southern District, and they were having their swearing in. It was DeKeither Stamps. He was the Central, and then you had Chris Brown, the Northern, and then you had Wayne Carr, the Southern. And so I was kind of in charge, I guess you can say, of their swearing in. And so, and I was thinking about, and Commissioner Carr, he always said, I'm the commissioner for everybody. I'm the commissioner for Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't matter. I'm the commissioner for the Southern District. And whenever you're a council person, you're a council person for everybody. You're just not a council person for the Republicans or Democrats. You're a councilman for everybody. And I will say, sometimes it is hard, to see past the lines. When it's election day, of course, you're voting your party. Like this Tuesday, you have your primaries and everybody's voting their party, whatnot. But once you get past these elections, and whoever wins, we need to work together. And so Wayne said that constantly, and so I needed somebody to open up in prayer at the swearing in for the new public service commissioners. And the first person that came to my mind, whenever we were there, was Jeffrey Hullum. And so I asked Jeff, I said, hey, will you pray for us? And so, and he did a good job, praying for us. And so if we had more of that, there are some things, that a lot of people will never see eye to eye on, and that's fine. But there are a lot of things that we will see eye to eye on. Like we will see eye to eye on, we love our coast. We want things to be better. We want to leave it better than how we got it. And we want to do better and more for our communities. And so that is an area that we can all, work together, whenever, because we go to school together, we go to work together, we shop at the same places together, we go to church together, and so and these things are important, and so why can't we, whenever it comes to certain areas of government, work together? And I think that is one thing that's important.
I do too,
especially on the local level.
It has to be at the local level. A lot of people get frustrated that we even run as party on the local level because they're like, I just want the one that's going to work the hardest for me, and I can appreciate that because truthfully, you get a lot of people that vote for the presidential election. And it's important. There's no doubt about it. I'll never say it's not important. But the president has never said, go pave this road, dig this ditch. And he never will.
That's right. That's why your vote counts.
That's why your vote counts at the local level even more. So the apathy that we see at the lower level, it just breaks my heart, because people will say, well, it don't matter. It does. It matters probably even more so.
That's right.
At the local level. So I've always taken an approach in my area. I grew up in Orange Grove, and for the longest time, I used to say, and I think maybe even more so today, that Orange Grove, or the area that I represented, was the most diverse ward in the city when it came to socioeconomics, race, beliefs. I mean, it's just across the board. It was the best melting pot in the city of Gulfport. And over time, due to redistricting now, actually my ward is a majority minority district now. But I have always taken pride in the fact that all of those little pigeonholes that people may want to put you in don't matter to me. You live in my area, I'm there to serve you. If your ditch is not draining, it's probably impacting somebody else's too. So why do I care what belief that you have, political or whatever? You live there. You're important to me. I'm there to serve you, and let's get this thing fixed, because you're important to me, the neighbor's important to me, and their neighbor's important to me too. So I've always taken that approach to work with and work for everyone there. And it has previously, last 4 terms, has done quite well. So I suspect that, we put everything in the good Lord's hands. We're going to continue to work hard, but we'll keep on doing what we're supposed to do. And people know that I have a proven track record of performing. Yes, I will admit there are some projects that take longer. There are some projects that I don't know that I'll be able to see through to fruition for my lifetime. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop working on them. They're important. We've got to have someone working all the time. Just a little nudge, asking a new question, asking a new agency if they have any way that they can help. Those are the ways that we work synergistically together, such that we don't have to raise those taxes, and we get the final product that we all want.
I'd like to see that sewer plant moved. That needs to get moved.
That's a big one.
That's a lot of money.
That's a $170 million project.
That's a big project.
I can promise you this: the city of Gulfport does not have the money to do that by ourselves.
No.
The only way we get that done, and I'm saying it this way: we don't even have the capacity to borrow that kind of money and make the debt payment and all that stuff by ourselves. We have to work together to accomplish that. Does it need to be moved? Absolutely. It's overworked now. It's 75 plus years old. It needs to be addressed very soon. But we will not be able to do it by ourselves. So we have to work well with others and find those unique ways that we can partner.
Okay. I have a couple, just
Yes, ma'am.
2 more questions from me. So with this election cycle, what are some of the issues besides infrastructure, which we already talked about, that you would want to focus on?
So you're now going to make me spill the tea, right?
Yes. I'm glad we brought that up.
So with that being said, the 2 big issues in my area that people readily address, and they're important. The first one would be traffic. The second one would be public safety. Public safety is more than just policing, though, okay? But policing is a big aspect of it, okay? Never doubt that. And we have had some challenges with getting people that are willing to be police officers lately. The nation's attitude toward policing for a while was kind of tough. So you had a lot of mamas and wives that did not want their spouse or son or family member or whatever to become a police officer. We started seeing that change a little bit. And right now in the city of Gulfport, we have the least number of open vacancies of sworn officers that I've seen in 16 years, because we're starting to get people that are willing to do that job again. That's huge. Now, with that being said, we're way below what we need to have overall. So we're looking for different ways to police. We're using new technologies. We're using gunfire sensors. We're using tag readers. We're using AI even to help with some of those situations where we're trying to identify people, find them and such. But there's nothing better than having a patrol officer out in the community. We've got to figure out a way to address that, because that's where people really get their comfort.
Right.
And that's important. We want people to feel very comfortable living in Gulfport. So we have to address that issue. But we've got a great fire department. We're blessed in the city of Gulfport. I'm gonna brag for a little bit. Every firefighter that we have is at least an EMT. We have a paramedic in every district, every hour. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Then we have, on top of that, we have brought in Pafford as our new ambulance service. We went out. It had been 40 years since the county had really looked at the contract with ambulance service. We had some strong concerns. We missed some opportunities. Some shenanigans were played. We finally just said enough's enough. We want to go out. And so we did. And we had Pafford. We selected Pafford as our new ambulance service. I was talking to the police chief this morning. He's actually going to provide me some data just to show the improvements. He says, Arlie, I can show you the data and we're going to get that to you. But he said, I know it's better. He said, because if it wasn't better, my firemen would tell me. Mm-hmm. That's important.
Right.
We need that good partnership because seniors make a lot of medical calls. Our firefighters respond to them. In the city of Gulfport, our EMTs and paramedics on the fire department, they respond to them. But we can't stay with them forever. We need to be able to turn them over to the professionals to get them and transport them to the hospital if needed. Now, I will say this, it seems to be there's some senior ladies, especially in my area of Gulfport, that like calling the firemen just to look at them, I think. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying. But, they do have demands that are placed on them. We're fortunate that we are that way because the city of Jackson, actually, their fire department does not respond to medical calls.
Wow.
We do.
Wow.
And that's a great service that we are able to provide, but we have to have that partnership with Pafford or an ambulance service. And right now it's Pafford, and they're doing a great job for us in getting the service level that we want, that we need actually, because before, due to many reasons, it wasn't getting there fast enough to relieve our guys, and we need our guys to be able to respond to other calls. If I am tying up a police officer because he can't leave a scene because the ambulance hadn't gotten there,
right,
and it's an hour and 45 minutes before they can leave that scene.
Wow.
And I have 2 patrol officers in that area. Whoa, that's a problem. And so we had to address those problems. And so I mentioned the fact that transportation, public safety are big issues. But I would dare to say in the city of Gulfport, an issue that is harder to talk about, it's probably given me more grief over this last term than any other issue, is the dynamics of Gulfport are changing. It's due to the population growth. It's due to the direction of the population growth even. And over the next period of time between the current redistricting that we did and the next census and redistricting, which is done every 10 years, the city of Gulfport will change enough that it will need to have at least 3 council members that live north of the interstate.
Wow.
There is a fight of the old power, the old control. Mm-hmm. I'll even call it the good old boys, and they don't like it. And I don't,
we love using that
all
term.
Right? But we'll just have to go with that for now. Mm-hmm. They want to maintain that power. And so we've seen some shenanigans that were played this redistricting to where you have a little portion of Orange Grove that's pulled down into another district, such that really, if that person that serves that district never does anything in Orange Grove, it wouldn't hurt them in their base. That's not the right way to serve.
Right.
We've seen that in 2 districts now. The moment that Orange Grove gets big enough and remembers to vote,
that's important.
That's important. They will change the direction of the city.
Okay.
And so that is a big, big issue. And it's just due to the way that we're growing. And I may be tip of the spear on this, and sometimes tip of the spear kind of takes the hardest blunt, right? The hardest blow. But with that being said, it's coming, and we're going to see that change drastically over the next 10 years. And it's a hard conversation to have. A lot of people that are in power like to maintain that power, and that's not necessarily the servant attitude that I expect out of servant leaders.
Okay, this is a very important question, but what is the history and the inspiration behind the bow ties?
So it actually goes all the way back to when I was a little boy.
Oh,
I was
okay.
very young. My grandmother made me a suit that I wore in one of my uncle's weddings, and it was a bow tie. And at that time of my life, it made a lasting impression on me. I grew up older. I grew up, and the older I got, of course, I wore neckties and such, but I liked them. However, they were hard to find for many, many years. They started becoming more available. I like wearing them, and I have stuck with them. I do have one necktie. I found it the other day, but I have over 300 bow ties.
Wow.
That's my signature, and I hope that I've inspired a lot more young men to wear them. I think they're cool.
Yeah, I agree. Very fashion forward.
You could at least worn one blue and orange today.
No,
I'm gonna have to look
no.
at the screen. I, as any good man, I just wear the clothes that my wife tells me to.
There you go.
Well, I can honestly say that I did not wear the clothes today that my wife had told me to wear because I wanted to wear and support the Gators. Man, Arlie, thanks for being on. Any last words for the show, that is?
For the show, absolutely. And this is sincere from me. Go vote. Pray for your leaders. Pray for me. The more people that we have that prioritizes the things in life that are the most important. God ordained government. He ordained the church, and He ordained the family. And I would dare to say, if we can get those aligned right, government is the farthest from us. Church is right in the middle. And then we got, our family relationships. If we get those right, our government will be better, our family life will be better, our church life will be better, and we can do more for each other in service to each other. And as a servant leader, that's what I try to apply in my life. Make certain that I'm aligning those because they're important to me. And as I mentioned earlier, the more I pray, the better I am as a person. Not necessarily I'm more sanctified or anything else. I just want to be the best that I am in my life. And it takes a good family relationship. I couldn't do half the things that I do without my family. My pastor probably wishes that I might find another church sometimes, but I have to have that good relationship there because I need him too. And then
Pastor Chad's a good man.
Pastor Kraft is fantastic. I've known him for many, many years. I'm very happy to say that he now almost denies that he's from Jackson. He says he's from the coast. So,
Good.
So that's good. But with that being said, we have to align those things in our life such that we're better and we can do more things in our life. So a personal plea, definitely go vote, but pray for your elected leaders. Pray for me.
Amen. Ariane, any last?
I don't have anything else. I mean, election day is coming up, and local elections are more important than federal elections. So like you said, people need to get out and vote, to get to know the people who are running. I used to do that. I used to say whatever name I saw that looked the best, I would mark it. But now that I'm more involved, I try to do more research, look at their social media pages, their websites, get to know them, reach out to them. Go to meet and greets. I've been going to those this year. So I think it's not only should you go vote, you need to know who you're voting for. So I think that's important. And I just want to relay that message that vote this coming up Tuesday. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
Arlie, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Ariana, as always, it's good to be on Freedom Frontline. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already shared, I would encourage you to share. As I said earlier, it helps us get around the algorithms that hinder conservative podcasts such as Freedom Frontline. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. May God bless you. May God continue to bless the great state of Mississippi. May God continue to bless Louisiana. And may God continue to bless the great United States of America and Gulfport. That's right.